Welcome into the Clocker Sports Podcast. I am your host, Josh Buckhalter. Be sure to follow me on X at Josh G Buck, on Instagram at Josh G Buck. That's JOSHGBUCK. Follow the show. Check out the website, clockersports.com, and of course, at Clocker Sports on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, Blue Sky, Threads, at Clocker Sports, at CLOCKER, TikTok even, CLOCKERSPORTS. And before we go any further, we do want to ask you to like, subscribe, rate, review, share the show, help us grow, help us reach more Bears fans, more football fans, more sports fans in general. We had the 9th day of Bears training camp practice, the 8th practice session. Of Bears training camp, the 8th practice session of camp. Another day of pads, another day of big hits, and unfortunately another day of injuries. So let's get right down to it and just discuss the things that we heard, saw, and are thinking about after, again, the 8th practice of Bears training camp, the 9th day of 2026 Bears training camp. So first and foremost, we heard from head coach Ben Johnson before today's practice. Did not have any update on Kyler Gordon. More on that in a second, though, because there's been some interesting developments that happened post-practice that we were not privy to, the media that is, but that did make the rounds for fans. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But he also denied any knowledge of the timeline, the reported timeline from ESPN's Adam Schefter regarding safety Kobe Bryant. Schefter reporting that Kobe Bryant would miss 8 to 10 weeks with that knee injury that he suffered in practice the other day. Johnson, with a smile, Riley, acted as if he had no idea where that even came from. That means nothing necessarily. That's just he's very tight-lipped with injuries anyway, especially this time of the year when I told you guys, teams don't have to disclose any specifics and they're not obligated to release daily updates. That's why we didn't get anything for Kyle Monunga until he got pressed, and even then, we found out that Monunga was back because he was back. So that's just kind of how it works at this time of year. It's really a very nebulous setup, kind of on purpose. It kind of protects the team in that way, I guess. But it definitely could be frustrating because as fans, you want to know, and obviously media members want to know because it's a curiosity thing. Like, well, why isn't this happening? And when you don't get the answer, that just makes you want to find out even more. So. No knowledge of Kobe's timeline. Kobe has only said, we've seen the social media posts saying that he's heard the hate talk and this, that, and third. But as it stands, the Bears are hoping to get him back by week 3 at the soonest, in week 5, roughly on the later end of the projected, again, the one that Johnson is denying, but the projected timeline for his return to the football field. Johnson also talked about keeping Caleb Williams humble, told him he just has to tell him the truth. It sounds like a thing where you could read more into it than it actually is. Because we know Williams had the struggles with the accuracy and playing on schedule can be a thing in the second and third. First of all, he's looked great this training camp and also during the offseason program, more dialed in, more accurate, more precise, more crisp with his play, and more demanding of his teammates. I actually saw a moment today where something had happened. The Bears had to go back to the line of scrimmage, go back to the huddle, and redo the play. Johnson made them do this multiple times at one point. But on this in particular instance, this instance in particular, easy for me to say, Johnson called them back, and Williams was trying to get everybody's attention, and you could see him demonstratively pointing to everybody in a way like, let's go, let's go, let's go. We've seen a few of those moments. We've seen him light into some of his teammates for doing the wrong things. That's because he has a command of the offense that he did not have at this point last year. And you hear anyone who's come by and seen him who had saw him last year, they notice the difference. It's very obvious that he's moving differently. Whether that translates to better play, is yet to be seen, obviously, but you can clearly see that there is a different level to him that he's reached this offseason, which is only going to help the Bears as they try to, again, not only match what they were able to do last year, reaching the playoffs, 11 wins, but surpass that because they do believe that there was a lot of not only points, yards, but plays left out there on the field for them. So encouraging for sure, but I think even more encouraging because it's showing that Johnson doesn't have to work hard to be innovative or to be impactful and delivering his messaging. It's just being direct, and that's something that he's been from the jump. Something that Williams has said that he appreciates, and something that comes up between their relationship. Something that is evident when you watch them in between some of the bigger moments. We'll talk about that in a second as well. In addition to the Kyler Gordon happenings, goings on around the Bears right now. Johnson also praised Darnell Wright. Right tackle Darnell Wright signed that historic contract extension. I believe it was $93 million guaranteed, most in the history for a offensive lineman. but he shut down the idea of moving right to left tackle. And not because he didn't think he could do it, not because he felt like he had a better option, but simply because Johnson believes that pass rushers come from both sides now of the defensive line. So you're not necessarily setting up your line the old school way of having the blindside protector versus the run mauling run blocker. Even though the Bears kind of are set up that way anyway, and are right-handed by nature because of Darnell Wright. He denied that just based on that alone. It was interesting because of some of the injuries that the Bears have sustained, and including today, that topic came up. Ryan Poles, Bears general manager, has said that was part of their evaluation. What they liked about Darnell Wright is that he could potentially be a left tackle candidate. Now, the Bears, under Johnson at the very least, have insisted upon not wanting to mix or flip guys around too much. They've shown a willingness to do it, kicking Joe Thuney out to the left tackle, but they don't want to flip sides for Theo Bendit. They have tried to avoid it when they can. And so, especially for a guy who's establishing himself as one of, if not the best right tackle in the league, I can understand the hesitation. However, at a certain point, you start to see such diminished returns on the other side that you have to wonder if your best bet is to simply put your if not your best player, second best player on your offensive line in a critical spot, because regardless of pass rushers coming from both sides of the defensive line now, you still can only see them from one side. Like, it didn't change the fact that quarterbacks don't have eyes in the back of their head to feel the backside pressure. So you need that supreme blocker on that side. Now, granted, having the strong guy on this side maybe can allow you to peek a little bit more to the backside, but you don't want to do that either, because now you're not focusing down the field. You're taking your eyes off your landmarks. All those things just go awry. So I just wonder, again, and we'll talk about that in a second, but you get to a certain point where you're just like, man, we're not going to be able to get sustainable quality play, high level play out of the backup level that we're at this point. So Johnson also said that he noticed rookie first round pick Dylan Thieneman playing faster. Remember, at this time last year, the Bears were kind of just breaking in their top two rookies, or two of the top rookies, in Colston Loveland, tight end Colston Loveland, and wide receiver Luther Burden. Burden participated in the offseason program, but suffered a soft tissue injury that hampered him, limited him, sidelined him the rest of the way until training camp. Loveland dealt with a shoulder surgery, recovery from shoulder surgery for an injury that he suffered in college, so he didn't get going until training camp. You have Thieneman out there from the start, and you're already seeing him take tremendous strides from just going from being swimming in the information as a rookie in rookie minicamp to showing up. And Johnson cited his play speed. Someone telling him that Thieneman's play speed looks like his tape at Oregon. And that means he's understanding what he's seeing and that he's moving without thinking as much. That's an encouraging thing, especially at a point in time where the Bears are extremely banged up with their secondary. They don't have any experience back there in terms of in their scheme, and have already had to mix and match multiple parts and have not really laid out any clear plan other than next man up for how to address it. If your first round pick is hitting, that's great. We talked about Darnell Wright. That's Ryan Poles' first round pick. If his latest one follows his most recent one and his first one, the Bears are going to be in really good shape. And Caleb Williams is also in there, as is Rome Odunze. All of those guys could actually end up getting extensions from the Bears. It's just a matter of, being consistent and continuing on the trajectory that they're on. If Thieneman can get off to a quicker start than the rest of those guys as a defensive player, as a healthy player, as someone who is getting the freedom to kind of, he's learning multiple positions. He's already flexible in where they're asking, but he's mostly been the match cover guy at the box safety, coming down and matching up with the tight ends. If they can somehow help speed up his process, that's a boon for the Bears and for that defense that really needs it, because, again, they're down a lot of secondary members. They didn't really do anything outside help for the defensive line of their pass rusher. They're counting on that secondary, that rebuilt secondary, to be the bread and butter for a defense that can be, if not as impactful with the playmaking, with the turnovers, at least steadier from play to play, which I think will help them win a lot of games either way. We also heard from after practice defensive end Austin Booker. And actually, let's set up the practice first because a lot of these comments come from reflect what we saw in practice today. So on the field, we saw a lot of, like I said, team periods. Pads were on, so they were doing a lot of head. We saw 9-on-7 today, so no receivers, no corners, and the Bears were really trying to no DBs rather. The Bears were ratcheting up the physicality, and you got to build that callus. That's not avoidable. That's not something that you can do by it happens. You have to purposefully go out there and do it, because if you don't, when you hit the regular season, you're going to drop like flies. And today was a day where the Bears kind of dented a little bit. They didn't necessarily fold, but they definitely had a little bit of a dent. So first you have, and this is the most important one because of what we just talked about with Darnell Wright. Braxton Jones got hurt in one-on-ones, got tangled up with Austin Booker, which is why I jumped to this before we go back to hear what Booker had to say. Jones went down. They got tangled up. I didn't see this as all secondhand. Got tangled up. Braxton Jones was visibly upset, slammed helmet down, all the standard, reactionary things, but then walked off with a trainer under his own power. That's encouraging in and of its own, in its own right, because as we found out later, the Bears will bring the card out for injuries that happen as close to Hal's as they were today, if need be. Now, that's not a sign that he's going to be A-okay, but it definitely is promising, more encouraging than if he were not able to walk under his own power, obviously. Having the card come out is typically the sign that no one wants to see, because it means that, A, the player cannot use that limb or a limb, but also that, it could be a lengthy absence for them. Can't say for sure that Jones will be back in short order, but his getting off the field under his own power is definitely lends itself to that more than the alternative would have. So behind him, though, is where it gets kind of interesting, because like I said, you're already on LT2 with Jones. He's filling in for injured Isaac Chapillo with that knee ruptured patellar tendon that he suffered in January. He's supposed to miss most of this season, if not all of this season. You're on Kirana Magaji, a former third-round pick who had tried to win the battle last year, failed, and ended up not only not playing on the right side, he didn't play tackle at all. They moved him inside to guard towards the end of the campaign. Now, they did think he could be a left tackle. That was one of his selling points again. It's interesting, though, that he is getting it's necessity at that point. Let me put it that way, because while Amagaji did get a slow start, he was injured as a rookie. He had to work his way back last year and try to catch up, basically. So maybe this is they're feeling like he is taking those kind of strides because he has gotten that experience now, those game reps, the seeing the film of him not playing well, and figured out how to alter his approach and be better going forward. But he hadn't gotten that many first team reps that he got after Jones went down and any point before this in camp. So this could have been a crash course, a matter where the Bears were just trying to see what they could throw at him because they needed him to get up to speed really, really fast because Jones could be gone for a while. Or it could also be a sign that they didn't fully trust Jedrick Wills, newcomer, former Cleveland Browns first-round pick and starter, to be the man over there at left tackle, despite the fact that he's been the primary competition for Jones on the left side throughout camp. We saw some of Jedrick on the right side. That was where he played in college. Again, that could open up the option of having Darnell kick over to the left side, but if need be, Johnson has resisted that urge. And to that point, even I will even hedge against my own comment there. Wills has played left tackle in the NFL. He was right tackle. He's played left in the NFL, so it would be a switch for him to go to the right side. So now you're switching not one but two tackles. That's probably more than the Bears want to do. But the option has to be there. Even if it's on the far corner of the table, it's got to be on the table, because you're down to LT3, if not LT4, depending on how you look at it. And we also saw some Theo Benedict over there that I've been remarking to you guys regularly, both in in the post-practice wrap-ups and recaps, and in these podcasts, that there has not been much Theo Benedict over at left tackle. There wasn't much Theo Benedict over left tackle today. And so I hesitate to leave him as a significant or a serious threat to win that job. But Johnson's mentioned him. The Bears are, again, down multiple players ahead of him. And at some point, you just have to throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks to try to make it through. And that's what the Bears, I think, that's the point where they're at now. Outside options, Taylor Decker is the one I wrote about on clockersports.com for the article about the injuries that the Bears are sustained today. He's still a free agent, former Detroit Lion, has a history with Ben Johnson, probably wants a good amount of money. I'm not sure if the Bears are ready to commit something like that to a guy that they may not need for the entire year, and that's another part of it. If they don't need you for the entire year, are they trying to commit it all to anybody on the outside rather than just see if they can get by with what they have? There's a risk to that because you risk missing out on an opportunity to get a real contributor who could solidify your offensive line and help you take that next step in the postseason and reach maybe a championship game, if not more than that. Uh, Decker's not the player that he once was, but a fresh start in a new city with a chance to stick it to his former team twice a season with his old coach, who's also taking pride in being able to get after other coaches. He hasn't gotten it with Detroit yet. They swept the Bears last year, but maybe getting Decker could be the final piece that the Bears need to get some more consistency on that offense to help them overcome some of the shortcomings they had last year, but really solidify that left tackle spot because it's definitely in a precarious place right now. Other injuries that the Bears had, Montez Sweat and Jalen Jones both left early. Did not see either one of those. They kind of like crept out. But reports are that they left out with trainers. Sweat is one that was on the NFI list, non-football illness list, heading into training camp, but came off quickly. It's coming off a solid season, double-digit sacks. Could be not a contract year, but a year where the Bears end up having to make a decision at the end of it. So I'm sure he wants to be on the field as much as possible regardless, but there's additional incentive for him to be out there. Jalen Jones is a guy who was filling in at nickelback spot and had gotten even more reps once Cam Lewis moved back to safety with Kobe Bryant's injury. Bears are mixing and matching all types of guys in that secondary. So very significant injuries to monitor there. A step below Braxton Jones. Sweat is just barely a hair below, but he's right, on the other side. If it's not the left tackle, it's the pass rusher who would affect the left tackle or who would affect an offensive tackle. And Sweat, that would be your next important player there. And so with Jones, he's a key player because you're down not only, like I said, Bryant and Lewis moving over to cover his spot, but you're down Kyler Gordon in the starting nickel spot, and your other options are less than not encouraging because you do want to see what you have in Malik Muhammad there. Dylan Thieneman said he's been learning some nickel back spot, but they're not reliable yet. They're not proven yet. You don't know. Gordon is a guy who has Pro Bowl talent when he's on the field. The past year plus, the issue has been getting him on the field. Now, to that end, he did post videos. There are videos on social media circulating. I shared them on X. Again, follow me at Joshy Buck, of Gordon signing autographs from fans apparently after today's practice. Now, yeah, that's important because Gordon was not out there for Bears practice for the portion that the media was available to see or was able to see, and there were fans in attendance. So maybe they saw him beforehand before the media was allowed out. But he was definitely out there afterwards signing autographs alongside Bears owner George McCaskey. So as much as there's been a lot of discourse about the Bears maybe being frustrated with Gordon, it doesn't seem like they have soured on Gordon. That's clearly two different things, but it's an interesting note. And he also said in one of the videos that he'll be seeing you soon. He posted on Instagram in a story yesterday about all due time and smiles will come, something along those lines, some cryptic message that suggested he could be closer to returning than not. And again, Johnson didn't give us a straight answer, so we're just left to speculate. That's just how that goes. The other two injuries, and these are also impactful despite the fact that they're not, as well known, but Javarius Owens and Dallas Flowers both needed to be helped out off the field. Flowers was held off by two trainers. Owens had to be carted off into the locker room, both with apparent knee injuries. Now, why is that important? Well, I just told you about the situation at cornerback and the one at safety. Bears are now down. Multiple players are still without Elijah Hicks, who was running next to Kobe Bryant as the starting strong safety in the spring before he got hurt, and then Thieneman was able to kind of ascend and take that spot over. They're very light. They're only healthy ones, I believe, are you got Cam Lewis, you got Dylan Thieneman, Skylar Thomas is a rookie, undrafted, Anthony Johnson's a veteran, and then you got Marlon Sewell, who is, if not a rookie, inexperienced. These guys are not well versed in the Bears scheme. The only holder, I believe, is Johnson, who, if I'm not mistaken, was around last season, but did not get much, if any, ticket. He was a practice squad player. These are risky situations. This is a risky bet, a gamble, as it were, to rely on this. So the Bears would need Kobe to be on that shorter term projection, but as it stands, the best hope now is that neither Cam nor Dylan fall victim to what has befell some of their secondary brethren so far. They're healthy corners right now, Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevens. So you got your top guys. That's good. And you got your promising rookie draft pick in Malik Muhammad. And then you got Josh Blackwell, a guy that they like as a special teams ace, but also who can play inside, outside, at corner if need be. Obviously, though, that's not their preference, because I have not mentioned how he was getting mini reps. He has played there. Obviously, they switched out the strings, but it has not been a prominent option for them to try out is trotting him out there. That has not been the case. So Bears are really banged up. It's kind of piling up on them rather quickly here and at key spots. So even if it's not volume, it's definitely significance. And I think that's something that they're going to have to be mindful of as they go through this. There's no way they can take their foot off the gas. That's not going to help them. But they have to keep exploring, keep their options open, and be open to maybe adding some more help, because at a certain point, you're going to start getting diminishing returns no matter how much faith and confidence you have in your backups. They're backups for a reason. They haven't risen to that level of starter, that reliable level of starter to this point for a reason. That's not to say that they can't. For the Bears, it's just a matter of if you want to rely on that. So after practice, we got to hear from some of the players. Like I said, Austin Booker talked to us. He was unsure what happened with Braxton Jones, but did wish his brother a speedy recovery. He said he's excited about rookie defensive tackle Jordan Vandenberg. Said he's nasty. That's something that we've seen. Vandenberg has got a nasty streak. We talked about him taking rookie offensive guard Caden Barnett, the vanilla gorilla, down to the ground during a drill the other day. And then Booker's most interesting comment to me was that he said he was up to 250-something pounds. Now, part of the knock on him, one of the knocks, I guess, the attractions that even head coach or defensive coordinator Dennis Allen has acknowledged is that he's a little slight. He was a little slight of frame. So that hurts you in the run game, makes you more of a situational pass rusher than a full-time starter at edge. Well, if you're up to 250-plus pounds, that's a lot better, especially when you got a 260-plus pound guy on the other side of you, 280 if not, something like that. And Montez Sweat, big guy. Those two will complement each other well, and Booker can hold up in the run game. Now, if Sweat is forced to miss time, that's a good opportunity for Dayo Adangbo to come back in there. He's been working on his inside, outside. He's not the pass rusher that Sweat is, but he should be able to hold up in the run game enough to get the Bears to a third down. And in that case, he can kick inside and they can go with their NASCAR package, which could probably feature a guy like a Daniel Hardy, former Rams 7th round draft pick, over there on the other side of an Austin Booker, which that's two guys with who play with their hair on fire. That would be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see what those guys healthy. If you could put some kind of package with Dayo, Montez, Hardy, and Booker out there on the edges, you might have something. Might be cooking with gas. Cam Lewis talked about the mental strain that having to play so many positions puts on you, but said that you got to go out there and play without fear because there will be mistakes. He was very candid about that. He will make mistakes. He's still learning. He's not perfect. It sounded more maybe as much for him as it was for us, but it was very refreshing to hear him say it so upfront, because you often wonder what kind of tax does that take on you. A lot, apparently. It takes a very lot. He also said that rookie Thieneman has caught on quickly, has helped him out as he learns too, which is a positive sign for where Thieneman is at mentally as well. That it's no longer swimming for him. That's a very positive sign. And that he's been used to not only having to fight and work harder than others, but also the versatility is not new to him either. So the Bears signed an underrated addition apparently in Cam Lewis, a guy who looked like he wouldn't be enough of a move during the offseason before they got Kobe as the safety replacement for Kevin Byard and for Jaquan Brisker coming out, or even nickelback if you were going to move Kyler Gordon. That was something that seemed like it could be a possibility. He could be a steal if he can prove, like it appears, that he can not only play multiple positions, but play them well enough to warrant starting snaps and not miss a beat for the Bears defense. And then finally, we heard from receiver Kalif Raymond, who talked about the joy that he gets from seeing head coach Ben Johnson's career arc, primarily as a leader. He talked about just that growth and that development in that regard and how impressive it has been for him to see. He also talked about being a mentor for Xavier Thomas, rookie wide receiver and draft pick. We talked about Johnson. Thomas told us about Johnson telling him to follow Kalif Raymond around and emulate what Raymond does. He's been a sponge with all that knowledge. He also has helped Raymond out. He said he taught him some mobility exercises. Raymond said he learned. He joked that that's why Thomas is so fast, because of these ankle exercises. Now he's picked them up as well. But he said it also was encouraging for him to know that that's the kind of mindset that Thomas has. So he was going to be a great player. And then he talked about the obligation he feels to mentor young players because of the tutelage that he received from players older than him while he was coming up in the league. Cited all of his stops and things like that, and also in his previous stop of building up camaraderie and why it's important and how it helps the team. Related it to his time with Buffalo or in another organization, and just acted like it wasn't something that that it was because there was nothing else to do, and so they hung out, and that helped them kind of grow and become a tighter knit unit. And the Bears, he said he feels that brotherhood, that connection, that bond, that common goal, sense of purpose, all that at the same time in the building, and it's very evident. That's another promising thing that you would expect to hear from a player, but it's still good to hear out loud, especially from a new player and one who has the knowledge of what the system, that the type of environment that Johnson is trying to foster in Chicago is supposed to look like, coming from Detroit, but also has those ties with the coaches that can relay that kind of message to the players in a way that they'll be able to digest. And then one of the other notable mentions was Kalif talking about Devin Bush's chase down of Caleb Williams in the backfield. We talked about that speed that Devin Bush has, that game-changing speed, that he's on you in a blur. And that's going to be something that I think a lot of quarterbacks could struggle to deal with, because there's not a lot of guys who move with the suddenness that he does, and he's not the biggest guy. So I could also see him maybe disappearing behind a blocker real quick if you're not the tallest quarterback, or if your eyes are just down the field, you're not, at eye level with him, he's below your line of sight, and he's a blur. That's going to be tough for anybody to get their hands on and to stop. A very, very interesting day for the Bears. A lot of hits, a lot of injuries, a lot of questions at the end of it all. And we'll hopefully get some more clarity on that when they get back on the practice field. They are off on Friday. They'll be back on Saturday. And we'll hopefully, like I said, hear some good news, see some positive developments, and find out what their plan is going forward. That's going to do it for this episode of the Clocker Sports Podcast. Be sure to follow me on X at Josh G Buck. That's JOSHGBUCK on X/Twitter, and on Instagram, and on Facebook as well. Follow the show. Check out the website, clockersports.com, at clockersports, at CLOCKERSPORTS, on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter/X, and even on LinkedIn. Send us an email, contact at Clockersports. We'd love to hear from you. Until the very next time, man, you already know what it is. We're gone.